The Socialist Ideal by Igor Shafarevich. The basic propositions of the socialist worldview have often been proclaimed: the abolition of private property, religion, and the family. One of the principles, which is not so often represented as fundamental, though it is no less widespread, is the demand for equality, the destruction of the hierarchy into which society has arranged itself. The idea of equality in socialist ideology has a special character, which is particularly important for an understanding of socialism. In the more consistent socialist systems, equality is understood in so radical a way that it leads to a negation of the existence of any genuine differences between individuals. Equality is turned into equivalence. For instance, Lewis Mumford, in The Myth of the Machine, suggests that in their social structure, the early states of Mesopotamia and Egypt expressed the concept of a machine whose components were the citizens of the state. In support of his argument, he refers to contemporary drawings in which warriors or workers were depicted in a completely stereotyped manner, like the components of a machine. The classic description of the socialist concept of equality is Shigelovism, the socialist utopia quoted by Dostoevsky in The Possessed. The thirst for education is already an aristocratic thirst. As soon as there is a family or love, there is a desire for property. We shall throttle that desire. We shall unleash drunkenness, scandal, denunciations. We shall unleash unprecedented debauchery. We shall extinguish every genius in his infancy. Everything must be reduced to the common denominator, total equality. Each belongs to all, and all to each. All are slaves, and equal in slavery. In extreme cases, it will mean defamation and murder, but the main thing is equality. First, there will be a drop in the standard of education, in learning and talent. A high level of learning and talent is accessible only to the very brainy. We must abolish the brainy. The brainy have always seized power and been despots. The brainy couldn't be anything other than despots, and have always brought more debauchery than good. We will execute or exile them. We will cut out Cicero's tongue, gouge out Copernicus's eyes, stone Shakespeare to death. That's Shigelovism. Slaves must be equal. Freedom and equality have never yet existed without despotism, but there must be equality in the herd. That's Shigelovism. Supporters of socialism usually declare The Possessed to be a parody, a slander on socialism. However, we shall take the risk of quoting a few passages in a similar vein. This communism, everywhere negating the individuality of man, is merely the logical continuation of private property, which equally negates individuality. It so overestimates the role and dominion of material property that it wants to destroy everything that cannot become the possession and private property of the masses. It wants to eliminate talent by force. Finally, this movement, which aims to oppose to private property the universal ownership of private property, expresses itself in a completely animal form when to marriage, which is, of course, a certain form of exclusive private property, it opposes the communal ownership of women, as a result of which woman becomes a low form of social property. In the way that a woman abandons marriage for the realm of general prostitution, so the whole world of wealth, that is, of man's objectified essence, passes from the condition of exclusive marriage with a private owner to general prostitution with the collective. I should very much like the reader to try to guess the author of these thoughts before looking at the answer. Karl Marx, Sketches for the Holy Family, published posthumously. To calm the reader, let me hasten to qualify this. Marx sees communism in this way only in its initial stages. Further on, Marx depicts communism as the positive destruction of private property, in which he scientifically foresees quite other features. According to this book, for instance, every object will become a humanified object or an objectified human, and man assumes his many-sided essence in many-sided ways, that is, as an integral person. There was also a socialist movement which endowed equality with such extraordinary significance that it derived its title, the Union of the Equal, from it. Here is their interpretation of this concept. We want real equality or death. That's what we want. For its sake, we would agree to anything. We would sweep everything away in order to retain just this. Let all the arts vanish if necessary, so long as we are left with genuine equality. The way in which equality is understood brings us to a striking correlation between socialism and religion. They consist of identical elements which, in their different contexts, possess opposite meanings. There is a similarity between them in their diametrical opposition, says Berdyaev, of Christianity and Marxism. The idea of human equality is also fundamental to religion, but it is achieved in contact with God, that is, in the highest sphere of human existence. Socialism, as is clearly evident from the examples above, aims to establish equality by the opposite means of destroying all the higher aspects of the personality. It is this concept of equality to which the socialist principles of communal property and the destruction of the family relate, and it also explains the hatred of religion, which saturates socialist ideology. The socialist ideal, that basic complex of ideas which for many thousands of years has lain at the foundation of socialist ideology, can now be formulated. 1. Equality and the destruction of hierarchy. 2. The destruction of private property. 3. The destruction of religion. 4. The destruction of the family. Dostoevsky was by no means parodying when he drew this portrait. Do away at last with the nobles. Do away with the Tsar as well. Take the land for common owners, lest your vengeance forever swell against church and marriage and family, and all the old world's villainy. Footnote. This poem, A Noble Personality, is quoted in The Possessed as a nihilist leaflet. The imitation turned out to be so accurate that a few years after the novel's publication, these lines found their way into the third department in the form of a leaflet, which really was being distributed by nihilists. End of footnote.